What is going on, guys? It is your role model of the IWC Gamers Goon here today with your Labor Day edition of the Monday Night Raw review. And now this episode of Monday Night Raw was complete garbage out of one thing in particular. You could tell by the thumbnail more than likely. Cedrick Alexander. But before we get into that, I want to sit here and I want to just throw a little jab here for a moment. We have a big week coming up next week. Next week, Raw is finally going to have competition. That's right. That is right. And I'm gonna take off the... I'm not even going to take it off. I'm just going to throw this on top of the Aleister Black shirt. The NFL. Yes. Monday Night Football is back next Monday. So, Raw, you guys need to step your game up because the last 3 weeks of Raw television have been miserable. Tonight's episode was miserable. This might have been the worst episode of Raw this year. And I don't understand how it keeps getting worse. Each week, last week I think was the week that I said was decent. Not the best, but wasn't horrible. But each week, for some reason, we've had it maybe 4 or 5 times in the last 8 shows where we said this is the worst show of the year. Sorry, gotta get him the sunflower seeds here. But it's really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous how every 1 to 2, 3 weeks maybe we're out here saying this is the worst show of the year. Why does it keep getting worse? And you're going in against competition, against a brand, against a company, against the NFL, which you know damn well is gonna draw a rating. It ain't going to be an Impact where it's only going to take 600 from you. Or less than 600. It's not going to be like AEW, where you can compete up to it. People will leave. Ratings next week are going to tank. You did that to yourself because you've been booking the shittiest of shitty shows. Fix it now, before it's too late. You got to get people going. Because the more Monday Night Football games, I believe week 3, we got Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. You want to keep your show going? You're going to have to do something big. You're going to have to start bringing it into my eyes. But there's really not much to talk about on this show. Obviously, you saw the thumbnail. That's why you tuned in. I'm going to quickly go over everything here tonight. I won't be here too long. I'm going to try for under 30 minutes. I might rant. Don't know. Can't really contain myself. But we start with Randy Orton. He had a promo. He said he told everyone he would do whatever he needed to get his rematch that he was already entitled to. But he still finds himself facing Keith Lee tonight. The more they cross paths, the more likely it is for Keith Lee to get kicked in the head. And there's a long list of people that have already been kicked in the head, but Raw only lasts for 3 hours. Then he goes on about how at Clash of Champions, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton, if Drew recovers in time, that is going to be the championship match. If someone asked him why Drew might not make it, Orton would tell him the truth. It was because he kicked him in the head and broke his jaw. Then he went over and showed the clips of the attack from last week, or from 2 weeks ago. He says, "What do they do when the champ can't defend at the one pay-per-view a year where they must defend their titles?" He says, "They hand the championship to me. I'm a patient man." And then we hear the ambulance come on down, and it's Drew McIntyre driving the ambulance in 2 weeks after he left an ambulance. 2 weeks after. He runs in, he hits a Claymore onto Orton, and the refs have to pull him off. Why the fuck is Drew McIntyre pulling up in an ambulance? It's been 2 weeks. There's no way in the absolute hell that this dude was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I broke my hand. I was not even in the hospital for a day. They did my surgery. I was out later that night. There's no way that was a 2-week procedure. There's no way he stayed there. Come on. Why is he driving the ambulance? Why does he have access to an ambulance? It's just cheesy. It's really just cheesy. It's something we see when maybe Orton goes out earlier in the show and then he drives the ambulance back in. We've seen it 1,000 times. I'm pretty sure we've even seen it this year with Becky Lynch. We've seen it 1,000 times. It did nothing for me. It felt cheesy. It wasn't necessary. And this is one of those feuds that I've been praising at every step of the way. And it just felt cheesy. It legitimately felt like a 5-year-old was writing that segment. Next, we get into MVP walking in the back. He accuses a janitor of talking about Shelton Benjamin's mama. And the Hurt Business then knees him in the gut and throws him down onto the ground. That's exactly how the Hurt Business should be booked. And we'll go on a little bit more about the Hurt Business later. Next, we have Drew McIntyre talking to Adam Pearce. He said Orton tried to end his career, but Pearce then kicks out Drew McIntyre from the show. Yeah, because we know how well that worked if you watch Raw. Next, we had Apollo Crews with Ricochet and Cedrick Alexander versus the Hurt Business. Now, this match did nothing. This match did jack nothing. It was not a good match. But the ending, we had Cedrick Alexander hit a lumbar check onto Apollo Crews, and he walks out, leaving this cliffhanger of whether or not he joined the Hurt Business. He offers Apollo Crews up to Bobby Lashley, walks out the ring, and walks out. And then later in the night, we'll get into it in just a moment. But a heel Cedrick Alexander, count me in. Count me in. Next, we had the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade. Another feud that we've seen one too many times. We've seen this match over and over again, just like we've seen the stuff with Apollo over and over again. And unfortunately, with the Apollo stuff, I think it's going to go on at least another month. This, hopefully, it's done and over with. I pray to the gods. We've seen this match, 6-7 times now? Get it over with. Hey, the Street Profits, they won the feud. They don't drop the titles here. Just get them far and away. Build up new teams, please. Please. They actually win this match because of Garza walking out on Andrade. Match wasn't needed, like I said, but after the match is what was the interesting part. We had the SmackDown Tag Team Champions Cesaro and Nakamura come on down to have a face-to-face with the Street Profits, and they challenged them to champion v champion next week to draw the Raw rating up against Monday Night Football. Ray, that was Bray Wyatt right there. Bray Wyatt, I didn't know you had something to say. You heard him. You heard Bray, man. He said it's to draw the ratings for up against Monday Night Football. That's what Bray said, not me. But yeah. I don't know why we wouldn't just merge the divisions, to be honest with you, because they're getting to the point where they legitimately have 3 teams on Raw, and I'm going to be honest with you. On SmackDown, they have... The Usos are non-existent right now. Heavy Machinery is non-existent right now because Otis could go off on his own at any point. There's really nothing else on SmackDown. There's legitimately nothing. There's legitimately nothing there. So, what I'm telling you to do is merge the divisions. Merge the divisions. This is a desperate need here. You got to merge these divisions because you're getting to the point where you're so desperate that you have no teams built up in order to be a legit contender for your champions, that you have to dip into the other show's pot and say, you know what, let's just have the champion versus champion because the story writes itself. Because you don't have enough ability to build up somebody that makes sense. Does this make sense? Absolutely not. It doesn't make sense why they randomly come over. I mean, yeah, I would understand maybe the Survivor Series or something of that nature, but or just a random episode of Raw. Random episode of Raw. It's not even in the build for Survivor Series. There's really no reason whatsoever why they would come over. And the only reason they did it is because they're desperate to get ratings for next week. Like I said, Bray Wyatt, that was his words, not mine. Next, we had the R-Truth YouTube Championship bull crap with the 24/7 title. Keep it on YouTube. Don't care about it on the show. Thank you. Goodbye. Next, we had Peyton Royce versus Billy Kay. Yay. Phenomenal. 2 of the worst. They had different music. That's important to note. Does anybody care? Absolutely not. They were both generic music. Who cares? Peyton Royce wins, as everybody expected. Peyton Royce will be the heel. She will be going on to face Asuka. Believe me when I tell you that they are going... Yes, you heard me right. They are going to push Peyton Royce, freshly broken apart from Billy Kay, freshly singles wrestler, Peyton Royce. They're going to push her before they ever even let Bianca Belair get a match on television. Bianca Belair hasn't even had a sip of coffee on the main roster. And she's been up for how many months now? Since Mania? 6 months? And Peyton Royce is about to get this push right off the bat. You wonder why? You wonder why? I legitimately can't tell you. Vince McMahon has his way. He's not gonna change the path that he takes. Peyton Royce fits into his agenda. Bianca Belair doesn't. And it's a shame. It's actually a shame. Bianca Belair is one of, if not the best women's wrestlers on that Raw brand. Even just wrestlers, not even just women's wrestlers. One of the best. I would be the one to say I'd have Sasha and then Asuka, then Bianca. But a top performer on the Raw roster can't even get TV time. But Peyton Royce is about to get a push. Believe me when I tell you Peyton Royce is getting a push. You don't believe me? Mark this clip. She's getting a push. I guarantee it. Guaranteed. Next, we had the Mysterio family being interviewed by Charlie Caruso. Rey Mysterio says that he has no timetable for his return off his tricep injury, but he can't wait to end Seth Rollins. Then they asked if Rey gave Dom any advice, any words of advice heading against Murphy tonight. Rey Mysterio basically avoided the question, says he's just confident that Dominic knows what he needs to do in order to end Murphy tonight. Murphy then interrupts him on the Tron. He says that Dominic should feel awful because of Dominic. Seth turned on Murphy. Rey says it is not their fault that Murphy ended up pledging loyalty to an evil son of a bitch like Seth Rollins. Murphy then says that he sees it clearly. Dom has a bright future, but the ultimate sacrifice is going to be ending it before it ever even begins. Then he goes on saying, Dominic, I want to challenge you tonight in a street fight. Dominic says he is more than willing to embarrass Murphy again. And Murphy says, make sure you bring your family ringside because it will be your last match. Dominic says, if you touch my family, that's going to be your last breath. Did it do anything for me? No. And it's a shame because I've been praising Dominic, man. If you've watched the SummerSlam, the Payback, the Raw after Payback, I've been praising Dominic. I was just not feeling it tonight. Next we had Asuka and Mickie James versus Natalya and Lana. How embarrassing is it that Lana gets to share a ring with Asuka and we can't even get Bianca Belair on the show? Seriously, why is Lana hanging out around the Women's Championship picture? Why? She can't wrestle. Just because she's a gorgeous woman and has a TikTok following of 1 million does not mean she should be near the Women's Championship. Keep it to what it is. Wrestling. She doesn't wrestle properly. She's not a great wrestler. Keep it to the Biancas. Natalya's fine. I won't argue against Natalya. Does she deserve to be in this spot right now without any build? Absolutely not. Mickie James, same thing. But they can actually wrestle. So I'm not going to nag on them too much. Lana, on the other hand, needs to stay far and away. I don't care about the reason of her being in here. I don't care if it fits Vince's agenda. Put the people in there that put in the work in the ring, that done this, that they legitimately grind. Put those people. Put the Sasha Banks of the world that you know every single day she's in there training. You see it. She was out there training with the House of Glory guys back like about a year and a half ago when she was out. Think about how disgraceful it is to somebody like a Bianca Belair who can't even get on TV, that Lana is on TV. Not even on TV, in a match on TV. She's been in 2 matches on TV this past 2 weeks. Bianca hasn't even been on TV twice this past month. Think about that. Disgraceful. Next we have Shelton Benjamin in the back. He kind of threatens Cedrick Alexander. He says, if you haven't really come to terms, I'll sense it and I'll find out. Then we get into the VIP lounge with Cedric Alexander. The Hurt Business is in the ring. MVP says he is honored to bring you guys this edition of the VIP lounge because Cedric Alexander decided to join the Hurt Business. And he says from now on, Cedric's life is going to change. Bobby then was instructed to hand the shirt over to Cedric. They said, look, on the back it says I'm in. But my question for you before you put that on is, what made you change your mind? Cedric said instead of being on the other side of a beatdown every week, he rather learn and he rather earn that money. Yes, he said hanging out with Apollo and Ricochet, it wasn't making him money. Hanging out with Ricochet, calling himself the one and only, and not really caring about Cedric, it wasn't earning him money. But what does is Cedric going to business for himself and joining the Hurt Business. Yes, sir. Cedric says that he didn't want to sacrifice himself for Apollo and Ricochet. Great stuff. Great stuff. Cedric Alexander is going to fit like a glove with the Hurt Business. Why? Because the Hurt Business have touched everything, or everything they've touched has been gold. Apollo Crews had a decent title run. Not a good one, a decent one. And he only had one feud with the Hurt Business. And it's not the Hurt Business's fault it wasn't a good title run. It's because they legitimately did not have him face anybody else other than the Hurt Business. Cedric Alexander's going to succeed here. He's going to succeed. He's going to go on to bigger and better things. That is what is important. They finally, after I believe 2, maybe 3 years on the main roster, they've finally given Cedric Alexander a direction. And it's about damn time. Cedric Alexander, I've told you before and I'll tell you again, is one of the better in-ring workers on Raw. It's about damn time. Next we have the Hurt Business versus Apollo Crews with the Viking Raiders and Ricochet. Nothing much here outside of Cedric picking up the win over his former teammate and Ricochet with the Mininoku driver onto Ricochet. Ricochet kind of kicked out, looked like a botch maybe. Ref called 3, looked like he kicked out at 2. Just really awkward. Don't know if that was going to play into a story in the future. I don't know, or if it was just a botch. It might have been just a botch. But one thing I also want to go over here is Ivar actually did throw up the X in this match. He went to a dive on the outside, and it looks like he might have did something to his knee. He kind of fell hard on his knee, maybe an ACL, MCL type of injury. But Ivar immediately, as soon as he hit the ground, throwing up the X. If you don't know what the X means, it means legit injury. Get out here, medical team, because we got a problem. Hopefully Ivar's okay. Hopefully it doesn't take too much time off for Ivar. Next we have Randy Orton versus Keith Lee. Why are they booking this stuff again? This is the third time we've seen it. And not only is it the third time we've seen it, this is the second time we've seen it with the same exact ending. Drew McIntyre attacks Randy Orton. Randy Orton wins by DQ because Drew McIntyre just wants to get one over on Randy Orton. It's the second time we've seen that. They had exact same ending with a Claymore. Exact same ending. And why is Keith Lee still with Orton? Neither man could lose. If Lee wins here, then he should rightfully be the number 1 contender, which is not going to happen. If Lee loses, what happens then? All of his momentum dies. There's no need for that match to ever even been booked. Adam Pearce was upset with Drew McIntyre for putting himself at risk. Thank you for pointing out the obvious. Thank you, Adam Pearce. Now here, next we get into the underground. We have Alistair. He beat up some guy. I don't know who it was. Don't really care. But then he fought Kevin Owens, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you the whole thing. I'm just gonna skip most of, because they broke this up through like 3 different matches. They put like a beginning of this fight, and then they put a match in between it, and then the middle of this fight, and then I'm just going to use it as one match, because I quite frankly don't care. They had Kevin Owens versus Aleister Black fight. Aleister Black ended up winning this, and it went about 30 minutes. I don't even know if you can call it really Aleister Black winning. He hit a Black Mass on Owens, and we had Dabo Kato come on in and take out both men, and Dabo Kato was actually the one standing up. First off, I don't like that a shoot fight, a legitimate shoot fight in the WWE is going 30 minutes. Don't like that at all. And I also don't like that we didn't have a decisive ending. And I also don't like that nobody's going to get over in this. So, Raw Underground. That's your show. That's your Raw Underground right there. Keep supporting it, though, because it's real good stuff. Great shit, isn't it, Vince? Next, we have Shayna Baszler versus the Riot Squad. Don't even get me started. I'm going to try not to be mad about this, but we had Liv Morgan pin Shayna Baszler. I'm not mad that Liv Morgan won. What I'm mad at is the fact that Shayna tapped out both Bayley and Banks. And a slight distraction from Nia Jax cost her against Liv Morgan and the Riot Squad. Liv Morgan's great, don't get me wrong. But why are you having two of your top women tap out and then Liv Morgan beats her? I'm not saying that to discredit Liv Morgan by any means, but Sasha Banks is more legit than Liv Morgan at this point. So is Bayley. They're both champions. Liv Morgan's back on the uprise. Doesn't make sense if you ask me. Kills all momentum for Baszler. All momentum for Baszler after making her look like a legitimate badass once again. Then you had Nia Jax with the Riot Squad. The Riot Squad, I believe, were going to win this match. It looked like they were going to win this match. And then we had the lights cut off. Retribution cut a promo. They said that they are here to lay waste and leave darkness of revolution that will seep into the superstars. I don't care. I legitimately have stopped caring about Retribution after the third week we've seen them. The first week, I wasn't even a fan of it. The second week, I still wasn't a fan of it. By the third week, I was already tired of it. You needed to cut to the chase a whole lot sooner. It's been I think it's been like 2 months. I just don't care about it anymore. Then we had an Orton interview while he was leaving the arena. Drew ended up hitting another Claymore kick on him. Great for Drew. Great for Drew. He hit 3. Orton hit 3 2 weeks ago. Can't wait for Orton to be out for 2 weeks. Come back just the day, or just the show right before Clash of Champions, because you know that's what's happening. You know that's what's happening. Next, we got into the street fight, and thank God this show ended after this, because, like I said, Cedrick Alexander was the only highlight of this show. Street fight, Dominic versus Murphy. I'm going to be honest with you. I saw people saying this was another good part about Raw. I did not enjoy this. I did not enjoy it. The only thing I did enjoy was actually the ending. We had the whole family, the whole Rey Mysterio family, beating Murphy with kendo sticks. We had Rey in there. I forget his sister's name, Dominic's sister's name. I believe it started with an A. And then we had Rey Mysterio's wife, Dominic's mother, in there too. Just everybody got their shots on with Murphy, and then as the show was closing out, everybody just hitting him. But I'm gonna be honest with you, the match that we got here this was Dominic's worst match. I'm not even gonna sit there and the tag team match was better. The match at SummerSlam was better. The match on Raw after Payback was better. This match, I just couldn't get into it. Don't know what it was. It just wasn't as interesting. I've been a fan of Dominic since we first saw him at SummerSlam, but I just wasn't feeling it tonight. Something felt bad about this show. It felt like a rerun, to be honest with you. It really did. But anyways, with that being said, as you see, I'm wearing the Leonard Floyd jersey. He might not be on Chicago anymore, but guess what? Considering that we are having football return, we will be speaking some football here on Wednesday. I'll be doing my predictions weekly on Wednesdays going into Thursday Night Football. I will still be doing the Monday Night Raw reviews as long as it's not a night that the Patriots or the Bears play. Don't know me, Patriots fan. Yeah. And obviously, Bears fan. I should have a lot of jerseys, but more Bears jerseys. But like I said, make sure if you're into football, make sure you hit that notification bell, man, because we got wrestling up on Mondays. We got AEW up on Wednesdays. We got a predictions video for weekly football in the NFL on Wednesdays. We're gonna have pay-per-views still up. We're gonna be doing a lot. And actually tomorrow I will be reviewing NXT here on the channel. So make sure you do come back for that. But as always, make sure you go follow the Twitter at GamersGoonYT and the Instagram at thegoongameryt. In the link below, you will be seeing a merchandise little slide in the description, and that will have a link to go to Teespring, I believe, and we do have some stuff over there in case you guys want it. That is up throughout the end of September. But we got a lot coming on our plates, man. We got a lot coming on our plates in the upcoming weeks. Gonna move out to college in about 2 weeks. I will be taking a hiatus. And I believe in maybe around like the 18th, 19th. We will be taking a little bit of a hiatus. But we'll be right back. You won't be missing too much of me. We'll be weekly on your devices. Don't worry. With that being said, if you found a way to enjoy Raw tonight, God bless you. But for me, I just wasn't feeling it. But for right now, it's been your role model of the IWC Gamers Goon, and I will see you guys on tomorrow night with the NXT review.